All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you to everyone out there, as always, for watching the show, for listening. However you consume Talking Buffalo, appreciate you guys very much. Not sure if you're watching us on the video side. We are live like usual on Sunday night with a big difference. We are live at Imperial Pizza here in South Buffalo, and I am joined in person now instead of remotely. My guy, Joe from Queens, man. What's going on, man?
Joe Queens is in the house in South Buffalo, would you say?
Yes, we are in South Buffalo.
It's a merger.
This is the heart, by the way, the heart of South Buffalo, like literally.
The heart.
The heart of South Buffalo, right around this area, and, of course, Imperial Pizza. Going to talk some Bills here today, talk some Sabres. I'll try to get to some comments as best I can, but it's a lot more difficult when we do these live shows because I don't have multiple monitors and other things going on. We're recording this around 8 p.m. or so. The temperature in the sky is going to get darker real soon, so we'll just see how this all plays out. Can you hear me, by the way, pretty well?
Yeah, you're a loudmouth. Don't worry.
I just wanted to make sure because I got headphones on. You don't need them.
I'm just RTing your video thing. That's all I'm doing, buddy.
Had a chance. Shout out, by the way, my man Michael Partham here.
Michael
Partham
Sports
in the house watching
he's
us.
on his phone. He's got 26 shirt on. Shout out to them, to Dell. I have that same shirt too. So yeah, it's cool. It's like the Star Wars. It's the whatever thing in Star Wars that they rode in like the original in New Hope in like the desert. That's what it is. It's like a Sabres symbol, but it's very cool. I dig it. So.
All right, shout out Mark here on the live side. I'll try, like I said, I'll try my best to get to at least some comments today. All right, so I had a chance, hung out with your wife a little bit beforehand. Yes. We had some dinner here.
Don't forget my son. You're not going to mention him? I hung up on my wife. I'm like, yeah, you hung up on my wife. What are you trying to say?
I was going to mention it as well. Toddler son, and he was in the house. But by the way, I don't need to ask you what your take were on these wings because Andy already gave me his take, and he liked them. Yeah, the biggest smile on his face with a little tiny piece of chicken in his mouth.
The prince that was promised, Andy from Queens. I guess we'll call him Andy from Queens, right? Yeah. So Andy from Queens had some barbecue wings, some garlic parm wings, some pizza. He was very happy. I got him clapping. I really wanted to like give him a chicken wing and like eat it like in terms of like this in the video side, but my wife
Mrs. Queens
vetoed that, would not allow it. It's hazard. So it is what it is, guys. You know, maybe not one day we'll, and shout out to Mrs. Queens. I don't know where she is. She's on the road back to Pendleton, but yeah, the food is great here. I'm going to promote your food. What the hell? Why do you have to put people
solid?
Hear me?
It's solid. It's solid.
I said I'll promote it. It's great. Yes, the wings are great. The garlic parm wings. So that's a Mrs. Queen's love is the garlic parm wings. She's big on that, and it's very hard to find really good garlic parm wings, and they were really good here. And I think it's a Rochester thing with the garlic parm wings. I don't know, but she really liked them. She is one of those people that does eat wings with their ranch, which I know is a sin in many parts of the country over here.
She expected me to give her throw some shade at her when she asked me for ranch.
Yeah, and I hate that because I love blue cheese. I can bathe in blue cheese, but the wings were great. The pizza was solid and more than solid. Not too thick, not too thin, just right. And now I'm like satisfied, and I want to go. And there's no way I'm going to get angry at this podcast now. So.
Look,
because I'm satisfied. It is what it is. Oh, and I got my beer, Logan. What is it? The blueberry.
EBC. It's an EBC.
EBC the bear. Yeah. So I'm very good beer. It's gigantic. I'm gonna be peeing for a month. It's good stuff. So thank you.
I want to say this too before we get going with today's show. And actually, Joe's going to be out for the next two shows. So we got this one dropping on Monday, and we're also going to record something right after this to drop on Tuesday. I kind of got a scheduling issue on Monday, so we got to get two shows in. We're going to.
Pat wants to get drunk more and eat more wings somewhere, basically.
Pretty much, but I do want to say though about this place here. So this is your first time here at Imperial, this location, and you were impressed. It is a nice sized place.
Yes,
it's a nice sports bar area, plenty of room for sit down people.
Yes, and the thing that was the decor is great. Like, look, having like the Super Bowl 25, 26, 27, 28. Emblem symbols or logos, excuse me. They have them like on like the rafters or whatever you want to call it, hanging from the roof, which is pretty cool. That's like the first thing I saw, and that like I was like, whoa, That's cool. You don't get that. So it was definitely good.
Yeah, it's a nice spot, by the way. I don't know if you noticed all the pack
Okay,
game
so
jerseys.
Mark,
a lot of pack game jerseys.
Yeah,
up here.
and by the way, Mark, who was asking about the blueberries, yes, blueberries are floating in this because it's a blueberry ale or whatever from Ellicottville, and that's what they do. They put blueberries in it, which I like. You know, I like blueberries. I like beer, and yeah. That's it.
I want to, but before we get into our topics, I do, while we're here at Imperial, I do, and this is important and actually serious here. I want to, look, without sounding like a walking billboard, I mean, Imperial's a sponsor. We're doing a show here, so I'd be saying nice things regardless. But there is an event, Joe, that's going down. If you look down, like, at that street, like maybe a block or so past it on Abbott Road, there's a benefit going on right now. There's a school about a block or so behind us for kids, Notre Dame Academy, grammar school kids. It got broken into recently, vandalized, burglarized. People with malice broke into that school, and they destroyed so much property. It wasn't even about stealing stuff. It was about destroying things and just all kinds of disgusting things. And, you know, a lot of damage to the school. And this community, if nothing else, it's a close-knit community here in South Buffalo. And there's a fundraiser going on right now at Molly McGuire's, literally right now. People are going there and, you know, paying money and raising money to help, you know, replenish a lot of things that were damaged or taken during that break-in. Anyway, this place here, Imperial Pizza, dude, donated 15 party pizzas for free. That's like $600 to $700 worth of food, and they did it for free. And I'm publicizing it, but they don't ask for that. They don't say, hey, let us people know what we're doing, because I'm around here enough. They do shit like that all the time. They go above and beyond. And man, if you're looking for a reason to support places in your own neighborhood, support the places, not just this place, but businesses that give back to the community.
Sure.
And probably as much as I enjoy the food here and the wings and all the bullshit that comes, you know, with having a bar, the good times, all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. My favorite thing about this place is that it goes above and beyond, way beyond what they need to do to give back to the community, man.
Yeah.
Whether it's stuff like that, Little League Baseball for South Buffalo teams, they're always sending pizzas over there and stuff that they could sell and raise some money. This place is just really top-notch when it comes to stuff like that.
That's very cool to know that. And like I said, the food is off the chain here. The beer was really good selection. I'm glad they're a sponsor of ours.
Well, I don't like you and you don't like me.
That's exactly true. That's why I'm here.
I am glad you are here. This is definitely a different dynamic. So we actually, this isn't our first go-round act doing that. Not even this year. We got together live at Resurgence right after night one of the draft.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. It was a nice party. It was a good atmosphere. You know, Jeremy White was there and Joe DiBiase, some of those guys, and we did a show right after. However, not our fault, but the internet sucked, and the connection was awful, and pretty much nobody could actually watch the video. Hopefully, it's a little bit better. In fact, it looks a little better on screen.
Yeah,
here.
we look sexy. I look sexy. You look like you have a midlife crisis. But yeah, I look sexy. We're good.
That's fair. All right, let's get into a couple of things. We'll spend the first half talking Bills, and then we'll kind of flip it around to the Buffalo Sabres right now. Maybe a big week coming up for the Sabres. We can't say that for sure. It certainly better be a big week, man, because the status quo clearly doesn't work. But we'll circle back to that. We're at the point of the year right now. It's the end of June. Training camp starts in a couple weeks, and I feel like you and I have talked about every single thing that could possibly be talked about with a football team, man. The offseason, free agency, trades, the draft, OTAs, which are, of course, your favorite time of the year.
Oh, by the way, that reminds
camp.
me. Okay, I'm already going to take the show off the
rails. Do it, man. Let's go.
Yeah, we don't have. Okay, so last week when I did my content, like summit, whatever, like my Mount Flushmore, I put golf on there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking that off because here's the bottom line. Golf, while I hate it, it's not an off-season content thing. During the season, it's all over the place. Like, people are going golfing on September, October, November. The Bills beat bros will go as long as it's like 50. They're out there. So, and this reminded me of this because I saw this crap on Twitter and I was just like, enough. Fake outrage off-season content. Like, Sean McDermott doesn't make a top 10 list, and it's like, oh, he didn't make a top 10 coach list. He needs to be on there. What the hell? Like, being pissed off about that. Being pissed off about Tyreek Hill because he said that the Bills have a
Bunch
cover
of
four,
bitches. They
bunch
said
of
a bunch of
bitches, and
bitches.
people are pissed off and got write content about that. That's my least favorite. Like when someone has a top 10 or something, or someone says something and everyone's outraged by it. Like that shows like it's slow news like cycle. Because no one would care, like, during the season. Like, if someone put out a list of, like, the top 10 coaches in the NFL in October, it'll be annoying for, like, an hour probably on Bill's Twitter. But on this sort of stuff, it definitely is, like, it goes on for, like, days. Like, I saw it on for days. So, anyways, so Michael Partham, I'm amending that Mount Flushmore. Like, I'm putting that on.
Which, by the way, he is the one who suggested that last
Yeah, I'm
week,
amending the golf bro outing. That's going the wayside.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
You said outrage about Sean McDermott not being on the top 10 coaching list, something that annoys you. Let me ask you this. Should Sean McDermott be on the top 10 coaching list?
Yes, but he should be. But he shouldn't be like top 2 or 3. Like, you look at that list, and I don't have it off the top of my head, but the guys I wanted to take out was Stefanski, and I think I wanted to take him. I wanted to take out, and I wanted to take out maybe Jim Harbaugh. But like, I can understand if you like Jim Harbaugh. He won a national title, and like he was good with the 49ers. Like, it's there's like some guy, like if you're looking at like the whole thing, like, I didn't think Sean Payton I thought was too high. He was like second on that list.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Sean should have been in there. I think I had him at 6 or 7. I think when I was like thinking about it, but I wasn't like to the point like we don't need to get worked up. Yeah, exactly. Roy Collins in the chat just said it. Like we don't like to get worked up over a stupid list. Like who gives a shit? Like,
I agree with you about the outrage part, but look, I got a take for you. I don't know if you agree with this or not. Maybe it's unpopular. I don't know, but I don't remember the list of like everybody who was 1 through 10, and I'm not going to go digging through it. Plus, we're live, and I don't have the wherewithal to be able to go look up stuff quickly.
I could look it up.
Here's what I do remember.
Sure.
Dan Campbell was on that list, and I do not think Dan Campbell should be on a coaching list ranked ahead of Sean McDermott. And if anyone disagrees, I'd like to know why. Based on what?
Okay, I will be a contrarian. Detroit was abysmal before they got there. Same with Sean McDermott.
So was Buffalo, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel Campbell like changed how to coach because he's been so aggressive.
Sure.
Like that's how I can maybe see it being that way. And they did go to an NFC Championship game like 2 years earlier. So you can't shit on that. I mean, McDermott's got 2, but he went to 1. He had the best record last year. He's only been there for like 4 years, 5. He turned them around pretty fast. But I that's a tough one because I look at Dan Campbell as like this offensive guru, and they're like, and we'll see what happens this year because what's his face? The OC went to Chicago. We'll see.
They lost, and the DC went to the Jets.
Yeah, we'll see how good he really is. But I forgot what his rank was, but they're neck and neck to me.
I'm not. By the way, this is not like an indictment. I don't think I think Dan Campbell's a great coach.
Sure.
I'm not saying he's not. I don't think he should be ahead of Sean McDermott. And I would also say everything you said is right. But at the same token, I mean, you want to talk about a team that's loaded with talent, man. That team is just oozing with star players all over the place. And
True.
And they've also kind of, they did make it to the NFC Championship, but I feel like Dan Campbell he kind of shit the bed a little bit with some of his calls, just like Sean did, of course,
with 13
multiple
seconds.
times.
Yeah.
And last year a little bit of underachieving. They had a great record.
I guess my point is it was a debatable list, but I wasn't like, oh my god, like if you're just looking at it through, if you're looking at one season, like okay, sure, but they're looking at over careers. You know what I mean? That's where it's like, why am I going to get?
Well, Sean's been doing it longer too.
Sure, but other guys have been in there too that have been like, like I said, Sean Payton, like he won a Super Bowl. I was kind of, why is he on here? He won a Super Bowl like a decade, like 13, 14 years ago. But like that's I didn't agree with that. I thought I would have dropped him down a little bit, but the point is outrage and like I'm gonna
I agree about that.
RT it to hell and be angry and be like those pro football focused people have always had it in, because Collinsworth hates them or whatever.
Did you see? I think it was Sam Monsoon or whatever was on GR recently.
Oh yeah,
talking about
shit on Brandon Beane. That was kind of hilarious.
Yeah, he took a shit on Brandon Beane, talking about him being the most sensitive, oversensitive GM in the entire league.
I mean, look, if that's accurate, like if you're gonna call a publication up and be angry about a grade that's kind of lame. But I that's not shocking. Like Brandon Beane is an emotional guy. I mean, and I think that's why some people love him. Like in terms of they like that persona of him being like in your face type of guy, and like how he did with the media. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm fine with you being a dick. Cool, but you better be right. You have to be a right dick. Like, I know that's not good. That's some, blah blah blah. Too much information for some people, but like, yes, you can. You just have to be right in terms of that. So
I want to. One last thing too about the Dan Campbell thing. I think he deserves to be nicked for having a team that lost at home to Washington in the divisional round this past year. Again, they said Sean McDermott deserves criticism too.
I'm just saying. And I think the difference is like, again, he has been. What did Campbell get there? I'm gonna remember this off the top of my head. I think he got there. They were terrible when they got. I think it was 2020 because right when Goff got traded. So and Goff got there in 2020, I believe, is when he got there. So he's been a coach for 5 years, and it's been like they ripped it down and then they got up. So a little bit like the Sean, but I guess you know what it is. It's like he's an offensive mind, air quote. We think, and Sean's a defensive mind. And I feel like offensive minds get more respect than defensive minds, in my opinion, in terms of like, fame, if you will.
The other question I want to ask you, based on what you just said before we get into some specific Bills topics, which, by the way, I have a list and I want to get your reaction to them. 5 things that I think are most important to the Bills preventing what will be a letdown this year. We'll get to that in just a minute. But the other thing you talked about, fake outrage or not, but what is your take when you hear Tyreek Hill at Fanatics Fest or whatever it was last week talking about the Bills being a bunch of bitches, clearly intentional to kind of stir up a reaction, which, to your point, a lot of people have given. And by the way, while you're talking real quick, I'm going to get up and I'm going to adjust the ISO on the camera. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand some fans being a little bit annoyed at that. I mean, bitches, like, I don't know what he was meaning that by. Like, like, was he covering, like, he thinks it's kind of a wimpy way to play football in terms of that. But, like, obviously, I know afterwards we all took our stat pads out and were like, hey, you've been pretty mediocre with the Bills. Even though he was great in that 13 seconds game. I remember he was awesome in that. But overall, it's just kind of in a way, like, bitches can be like, I'm trying to think of like a way, like, I would consume it as like, if I'm going to agree with him and I'm not. In like hockey, like back in the day, they used to have the trap, New Jersey trap, and people hated playing against that, and they thought that was like a poor way of playing hockey. And maybe he views it as like, that's a poor way to play football. You just cover 4. Who knows? Like, maybe you have to be a man and go man up against him. I don't know what he's talking about. But look, he is a douche, so I don't want to like defend him, but I don't want to be angry. I don't know. It takes a lot for me to be angry at like stuff outside of like the realm of possibilities.
I'm not angry, and I don't care, and I like that shit, generally speaking. Give me a rough. You're going to have a rivalry with a team. Let them hate you. Let them talk all this shit. But what I will say is Cover One kind of...
That's my cousin. Patriot Joe. Sorry, we got people hitting the house.
Cover One kind of dispelled that notion. Cover One put out stats that said that it's not even true about the Cover 4 thing. So
love the film, bros.
So they pointed out that it was actually... inaccurate there. So let's get into, like I said, 5 Bills keys right now I got written down to prevent a letdown this year. Let's start with the first one here to me, and that's Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid, both growing this year and having better seasons, because ultimately I think what's going to make the offense the most sustainable is having Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid take another step.
Yeah, that's a tough one because they didn't really have like a great season last year, and they were still like still won 13 games. So how?
But the thing is, like, how do you stay sustainable? Like, how do you repeat what worked last year?
Well, I mean, yeah, you wanted to probably get them to get in the ball, like just for the more in terms of like we don't want to have a bit of another critical juncture of when we're bitching about them every week. But like at the same time, I'm like, well, we didn't need them, and they didn't need them last year. So like, yeah, you would probably want them to be good, and like that will help them in terms of going to another step. Like we've talked about that, but it's tough to know that because of this. Everyone eats crap,
Yes. However, no Amari Cooper, no Matt Collins.
You and Matt Collins again. Here we go.
You know how I feel about Matt Collins.
Yeah.
I just, to be sustainable, I feel like one or both of those guys need to have the best season that they've had. For Keon, he's going into year 2, of course. Kincaid, year 3. And they're both first picks, too, over the last couple of years as well. So that matters as well. Another thing that I think is going to be really important this year is the rookie defensive linemen, and the Bills took 3 of them with their first, literally with 3 of their first 4 picks. Those guys having not necessarily starters. I don't think any of them will be a starter, but all three of them having a significant role in this defense. Because I feel like at this point, with guys like Daquan Jones and guys like A.J. Epinesa, what you see is what you got at best with them. In Daquan Jones' case, I actually expect probably a little more regression. A.J. is who he is. Those big moments, those big playoff games, they haven't delivered. You got these young guys, again, they don't have to have great numbers all year, but when it comes to crunch time, having these rookie defensive linemen who may step up and make that big play that a Daquan Jones or an A.J. Epinesa or even Greg Rizzo, has not made, that those will be a big key for the Bills.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And I would go back to this past year. You look, how many elite quarterbacks offenses did the Bills really play in 2024? When you think about it, like you had Mahomes, and that's like, they weren't as great offensively. Lamar, you had. It wasn't great. This year, you're playing a lot of like top-heavy offenses coming
just
through.
Joe
Burrow, it's Lamar,
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, like it's going to be like you got Baker Mayfield. He's not a bum,
No.
He's pretty damn good. You have a lot of star power you're going against offensive wise. That's why we talked last week when we talked about the whole playoffs in terms of, or not the playoffs. We were talking about like the schedule and how great the schedule was in terms of entertainment value. But sometimes the entertainment value sucks because you got to play all these great teams, at home or like they're a good offensive team. So the defensive line definitely has to come in. In terms of that. And,
a couple other guys, too, like good mid-level guys that are still young, like C.J. Stroud, they play this year. Bryce Young, Carolina. I mean, they'll never be a good team, but he certainly has had his moments. But, I definitely think the new blood at defensive line needs to carve out a role, not just guys on the roster. So, hopefully that happens.
Who do you think has the most pressure on the defensive line for you?
Ed Oliver. Yeah.
Do you – I mean, we've gone through that before. Who do you think is a make it or break it, though? Like –
well, I would have said Greg Rizzo. However, Greg Rizzo just signed a 4-year extension, getting $20 million a year. Make or break? I don't know that they have a make or break guy on defense.
I would say Bosa.
Sure.
If he struggles this year and he gets another 3-4 sacks,
he's a 1-year deal. You just don't re-sign him.
I know he's not. Yeah, I'm saying that for him, like in terms.
Oh, okay, for his career.
Yeah, like
sure.
If he's getting that like weird deal where it's like, okay, buddy, like we're giving you all this.
If he doesn't prove himself this year, this was probably his last big money contract. Like this will be the last time he gets a $10 million per year or more deal from a team.
Yeah.
If he doesn't step up. So from that regard, I would say Joey Bosa, and you can even lump him in with the rookie defensive lineman again because he wasn't here last year. Is he going to make that big play in January? We thought Von Miller was going to make that play, and that just never happened for the Bills.
Sure.
One more, then we'll get to a quick break here. Sticking with the rookies, I saw somebody in the comments too mention this. And by the way, let me actually backtrack a little bit. Chooch, I'm looking at the comments, not bringing them up, but Dwayne Carter needs to perform a third round.
You
pick.
hate Dwayne Carter.
I don't
hate
him. I just don't. I don't believe in him yet. I gotta see more for him for me to believe in him. So for sure, Dwayne Carter I can add into that. But anyway, next one was the rookie corner, Max Hairston. I think it's very important for him to be ready to play early. Maybe not week one necessarily. It'd be nice, but early in the season, they need a guy out there with speed, a guy who can run with a Tyreek Hill, a guy who can run with a Xavier Worthy on crossing routes across the field, a guy with a high up-end ceiling who potentially could be a very productive player in the secondary. I don't hate Trey White. I just think that Trey White is a good system guy, good zone guy, but if he's in situations where he's got to run vertically with guys, I don't think that's going to play well for the Bills. They used a first-round pick on the guy.
Yeah.
So I think Max Hairston is a very important player this year. You want the secondary to be a little bit better than it was last year because I thought it was just after Benford, I thought the secondary was very pedestrian as a whole last year.
Real quick, Benford, he had 2 concussions or 1 last year?
He had 2, and they were almost consecutively. He had a concussion, he came back, and then he got a concussion in the first quarter of the Chiefs game. He got hurt in the Baltimore game, I believe.
Did he get hurt? Yeah.
Because then he played against the Chiefs.
That's a slight concern for me. Like, if you want to keep, I think we're about to get to health in a little bit, but, that's, like, would you say defensively if one player goes down, who is the only? Oh my God,
they can't lose this guy.
Yeah, they can't lose this guy.
Christian Benford.
Yeah, it's him, right? It's got to be Benford.
By a mile. By a mile.
Because you go down and it's like you got a rookie, you got Trey White, and like you could do a what if he stays healthy in that playoff game against the Chiefs, but like he's so good, and that's I don't know how many two concussions. It could be a Mitch Morris situation where okay he's fine. In terms of like, okay, because you remember Mitch Morris had the concussion issues, and we were like kind of worried about that. But yeah, that's a little bit of a scare. But I would say definitely, like, they can't lose him.
He's by far the most on the defense. If Greg Rousseau, something goes down, you hopefully got Bosa. If Bosa doesn't do much, you didn't have him last year anyway. Ed Oliver, you got a guy, TJ Sanders, you took him in the second round this year. You moved up for him, too. So those guys are important. Matt Milano's important, but you have Dorian Williams. Yeah, but there is no Christian Benford replacement on this roster right now. Now, maybe a year from now, back to this point with Max Hairston, maybe if you were to have something happen to Christian Benford, it wouldn't be quite as debilitating because you would have Max Hairston. But right now, you definitely don't. So, for sure with him, next one, continued good fortune and health on the offensive line. I think one of the low-key biggest factors in the Bills over the last couple of years on offense and just overall being such a good football team is the play of, number one, the play of the offensive line, and number two, the fact of how healthy they've been as a unit. Spencer Brown missed the Chiefs game last year. He is the only starter to miss a game in the last 2 years, not 1 year, the last 2 years, with the exception of the regular season finale.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Live people here. This is what happens when you're live.
Someone just saying they're a fan of our podcast.
Yeah, I love it. Doesn't probably know who we are, but that's okay. Anyway,
he knew our podcast. He just said that.
But anyway, yeah, back to the offensive line. Like I said, it's been really, really good, and it's been really, really healthy. Minus the meaningless season finale last year. Everyone has played, exception of Spencer Brown for one game, which, by the way, that did not matter. Ryan Vandermark was fine in that game. But the offensive line, just the good fortune and the good health to me, is a very big factor in preventing like a letdown for this coming season.
Yeah, no, the line, it's been their strongest suit. Outside of like Josh Allen,
outside of Josh, yes,
like their unit, like it's you can't even compare it. It's been great. Shout out to Aaron Cromer. He's done a really great job with them. They protect Josh, and if you think about it, like you go back to like a couple years ago, like Josh was a guy who took a lot of hits. And now it's kind of evolved where he's not taking as much hits. And I'm sure it's a part of him and the maturity. The offensive scheme's a little bit quick passing. But yeah, they get that going, and they've done a great job with run blocking.
They really have, and it kind of goes back to the James Cook. We're sitting here, profusely praising the Bills' offensive line, which has led to so much James Cook offseason content because of the contract. It's like, well, when you got a line that's that good, it's almost like you could plug in a Ray Davis or a Ty Johnson, and you're going to be fine at running back. But, yeah, without question, to me, it's probably the most underrated part of this team.
Sure.
And something that's certainly important. And then last but not least, obviously, and this goes without saying, but we do have to say it, just Josh Allen. No slippage. Yeah. He won MVP last year. He's played at an MVP level now for probably at least the last 3 seasons. Just him, I don't even necessarily say he has to get better because I don't know how much better he can be. The one knock going in the last year was he was a little reckless with the football. The turnovers were an issue. Well, that was not an issue last year. In fact, historically, it was not an issue for the Bills. So just obviously him staying healthy, of course, but just maintaining the level of play that he's had the last couple of years, that's ultimately, more than anything else, was going to prevent a big letdown.
You say you don't want 300-yard games anymore?
I'm not saying
that's what he did. A couple years ago. Like, what do you want? Do you want conservative Josh?
I want him to not turn the football over.
You and this turnover bullshit. I swear. Now I'm getting angry. I might have to get another chicken wing here and eat it. I was never big on this turnover thing. I know it worked last year, but you have to understand, Pat. They are going against better offenses this year. He has to be probably a little bit more aggressive. You got to duel with Burrow. You got to duel with Justin Fields. There are guys he's going to have to kind of duel with. So, it's great when it's great when you're ahead, and this is what the team was great at doing last year, getting ahead of a lot of points. It's great where he's not going to turn the ball over. But if you got duels and you got to go head to head with them and fire with fire, I don't want to check down Charlie. You got to be aggressive. And if he's throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. I like that more than 200 yards and 1.5 touchdowns.
Not me.
Well, you're a
run
conservative
the ball,
putz.
run the ball. Don't turn the ball over. Your defense was really good at getting turnovers last year. Mark put it out in the chat, and I agree with that too. Josh's one biggest flaw still remains the deep ball has not been really consistently good at that. Anyway, all right, let's do this. Take a quick break, come back, talk a little more Bills, and I kind of want to get into the Sabres too. So we'll be back in just a few seconds here.
Hey. Oh, ask him. He's the host.
All right, we are back here live from Imperial Pizza. Joe from Queens is with me here in person. Thank you for everyone who's watching. We're still up close around 500 live on the video side. Of course, a lot of people listening to this on Monday as
You ignored
well.
my cousin who just tried to ask you a question.
What was the question?
He wanted to ask a Q&A. Yeah, he's the host.
We'll do it on the next one.
Yeah, we're going to do Q&A in the next one.
All right,
yes,
so
Pat.
let me get back into this now with the Sabres, all right? So we're going to flip the script here with the Sabres. Unprecedented.
I can't believe we're talking about the Sabres. Go ahead.
Well, we have to.
I mean, I do have a Sabres kind of hat colors, but sure, go ahead.
You're complaining about the Sabres. Why you got Sabres stuff?
It's not really Sabres stuff. This is a Bison's hat, by the way. So it's just it's a Bison's hat.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks like a Sabres.
No, they kind of ripped it off as a Sabres hat, but it's Bison's.
Do you feel like right now?
I'm objective.
Do you feel right now with the Sabres, this is like unprecedented, tumultuous times right now with this organization in terms of obviously the losing, that's really bad, but just the relationship right now between the general manager and, quite frankly, the fans. It's as bad as I've ever seen with any GM of either the Bills or the Sabres for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I posed this question, I think, a couple weeks ago I did the Mount Flushmore of like my least favorite Sabres suits, and I put Kevin Adams up there, and it goes beyond that now. Like the Bills, like he's worse than like Russ Brandon or Ralph Wilson at times. And I think it's just like it's the longevity that I think is like the sad part of it. Like people hated like Jason Botterill. Like he was terrible. But he was only here for like 3 seasons basically. Other guys like Buddy Nix was here for he was fine, but he was here for like 3 years. Like usually have a shitty guy here for 3 years and then he's fired. Yeah. Where in this case he's going into year 6. And like if they make the playoffs, which, hey, great, I guess, he's extended because his contract's up next year. Like, they're going to extend him. But, like, it's a relationship where he's not really good in the public. He said stupid, like, he feels bad for Sabres fans, like he said last week, in terms of, I don't know what the context was. Like, he felt bad because there were leaks about Samuelson getting bought out and that sort of stuff. But, like, it's just incredibly, like, they're such a poor organization where when you tell me we got to talk about the Sabres, I'm just like, ugh. Like, they're just so, like, not interesting. And I think what I feel bad for is I do feel bad for fans, not in the context of him, what he said, but I feel bad, like, they have to go through this shit with them all the time. And, like, I asked you, like, I think maybe 2 months ago, I asked you, do you think Kevin Adams is going to make a big deal? And I think you said, yeah. And what do you think now? Do you think they're going to make a big deal?
Well, I mean, the Paterka trade was a big trade. However, the reason why they made it...
Yeah, was because he didn't want to come back.
He didn't want to be here.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't like I don't think they made a move. I don't think they said, we need to make a big deal. We need to shake up the core of this roster. We got to really, show the fans that we are dead serious on change. This was a motherfucker didn't want to be here, and he was not going to sign, and it probably was going to be a problem. I mean, he was very dismissive, and you could just tell he was even irritated by the media asking him questions about J.J. Paterka before the trade. So that was one of those, we got to trade. We got to get the best player that we can or the best package that we can. But
there's no moves on the horizon that are going to, like, I'm going to go buy my season tickets. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, there should be.
But there's not. But I have no faith in that. That's not going to happen.
That's maybe my biggest issue with this organization right now is if there is a sense of urgency with the Buffalo Sabres right now, it sure doesn't feel like it. When I listen to Kevin Adams, which I've been very, open about, I cannot stomach listen to him anymore.
No, he's a putz.
I had literally a title or an episode title last week, the unearned arrogance of Kevin Adams, because that's what I feel it is right now.
He's an incredible putz.
It's just...
I couldn't, you know what, now I'm getting angry. I couldn't handle him talking about how he brought up Eric Stahl, and he was like, I couldn't believe how amazing Eric Stahl was in a meeting to get like that first. He was basically paraphrasing how like, oh, it's great to have a recent retiree telling all this shit. And it's like, dude, why didn't you have a recent retiree like 3-4 years ago then? You just came up with this epiphany? Like, bullshit. You just did that because you wanted to hire your buddy, and that's why you brought him in the first place when he sucked here. It is what it is. I mean, I'm tired of it, and like now I'm tired of it. You know, I started this conversation with I don't give a shit, but then you get me started thinking about their bullshit, and it's just frustrating. I feel bad for Sabres fans because it's like, the fuck's the point? Like, it's stupid.
Well,
but he is the least. I would say, Adams to me, GM, head coach, is the least popular in Buffalo sports history, and that's covering some horror.
He's getting there.
He is there, buddy. There's no 6 years, man. Your least favorite guy, like Tom Donahoe, was here for like 4 years. You know,
sure.
Guys like Rex Ryan was here for 2 years. Doug Whaley, like 4 years. You know, Dick Duran, 3. Like, you can go through the shit list of how bad these people were. It's usually 3 years you're in hell.
Yeah.
This guy's been here for like, this is gonna be 6 seasons.
Yeah.
He's on the list, dude. He's on the there's like the Mount Rushmore, it's him, and then behind him is a bunch of other dudes. Like it's his face. And he looks like the guy from Happy Days. Did you ever notice he looks like the guy from Happy Days? The guy, the Fonzie's friend. What's his name? The Fonzie's friend. Ron Howard. Yeah, Richie kind of looks like him a little bit. Like older version of him. Like
I feel like you're hating on Richie by saying that.
Well, he looks like Richie Cunningham. That was his name. Kevin Adams looks like a Richie Cunningham.
Well, he doesn't act like a Richie Cunningham. He doesn't talk like a Richie Cunningham because, again, to your point, not very well liked. And again, I think that's
he's the least. If I gave a shit about the Sabres, more so I would have a I hate Kevin Adams shirt. But because I'm ambivalent about them, till you have to ask me about them, he's the worst of all time.
Listen, regardless of whether he's the worst or not, my point was when it comes to him right now, this team should be operating with a sense of urgency, and it just doesn't feel like it. Listening to him, it doesn't feel like it at all. Their course of action, look, they took a guy with the 9th overall pick. I don't know shit about Merca. We'll find out in the next few years if he's any good. I'm not going to try to play hockey analyst here. Yeah. I don't know. But other than maybe Bo Byram that they trade, which if they do, they're going to trade a good player, and maybe if they're lucky, they get a good player back. It looks like the salary cap, they're going to have a lot of money left yet again because if they get rid of Bo Byram, they're not paying him, and at most they'll bring in somebody who's going to make roughly the same. They'll give Tuck an extension. McLeod will get a nice contract, but even after that, they're going to still have like $7-8 million against the cap, just like they have. They haven't spent to the cap once in the last 5 years, and it looks like it's going to be 6.
They're doing small ball, or money ball.
Well, shit ain't working.
Yeah, well, that's what they're doing. They want to hit on their draft picks and trade them. But the problem is, if you get someone like Paterka, you hit on him. Mm-hmm. He's great, and he doesn't want to be. Like, why would you want to be here? Like, if they're losing, that's the end of the day.
I'm glad you said that.
You don't want to be here if they're losing. I'm sorry. Like that, and that's his problem. And like Kevin Adams come up with the palm trees bullshit. No one wanted to go to Florida for years. And they were an armpit of the hockey league. Then all of a sudden they get good, and everyone wants to go there. Like, I'm sure that no state tax is great. Obviously it's a cherry on top. But if you're terrible, you don't want to go play at these places.
I agree. There's 2 big issues with the Sabres right now. To me, number one,
they should leave.
Well, they should not leave.
They should leave. We should get a basketball team.
I don't think they have an identity.
Bring
right now.
Tampa Bay here.
Don't start with the basketball shit.
No. I'm talking about baseball. Bring the Tampa Bay Devil Rays here.
This city can't support a baseball team.
They could.
Not 81 home games.
You could find a way to support it. You can buy it.
Anyway, look, with the Sabres, to me, they don't have an identity right now. Like, they almost made the playoffs a couple years ago, man, and it was with skilled players who are really good skaters, and they went away from that. Now they're getting bigger, they're getting more physical, they want to be tougher to play against. I think Kevin Adams might have talked about, like, these are the type of playoff, we've been watching playoff hockey, and this is how playoff hockey is being won. You got to get to the playoffs. I still think about last year when Tage almost got his head taken off and nobody did anything about it. There are plenty of instances beyond that. So this is a team that lacks an identity to me right now. And what you said earlier, I think is the single biggest problem, and it's talked about, but I don't think it's talked about enough, and that's players don't want to be here, man. I bet you there's a locker room. If you got 20 guys in that locker room, 10 or more literally don't want to be here. They're being soldiers. They're professionals. They're playing here. They're giving their best, but their heart's not in it. They don't want to be here. They want to be like J.J. Paterka. They want to be somewhere else. And if your objective is to play winning hockey and compete for championships and also enjoy the weather, the taxes, and all that other shit that comes with it, why would you want to be a Buffalo Sabre right now? That's the dilemma with Kevin Adams. Yeah. How do you get guys? If you start winning, just like the Bills weren't a destination 9-10 years ago. Nobody wanted to be a Buffalo Bill.
Yeah,
if you were a Bill, you got overpaid or no one else wanted you. That's where the Sabres are at right now. The solution with the Bills was winning. You start winning, now good players want to come here. If the Sabres start winning, good players are going to want to come here. But how do you win when nobody wants to be here and you just continuously make bad moves?
You mentioned the roster construction, how they're becoming more physical.
Mm-hmm.
Think about this.
Well, they're supposed to be. Anyway.
They're supposed to be, air quote. That's a cheaper way to do hockey. Who are the people who are going to make more money?
Skilled skaters.
Exactly. Yeah. Who's not going to make as much money? The guy who's like, oh, I check and I get 10 to 15 goals a year. That's going to, and I'm telling you, all of this will still go down to economics of the situation. Terry has his budget. Terry Pegula is like that guy who owns a sub shop down the street from you, and he's like, I know how to do this, and I'm not going to evolve with the times because I have my set budget. I don't care if the other person across the street's making more money than me and has the internet or seamless or whatever, and he's just stuck in his ways of, we're going to make it this way. I'm not going to put more money into it, and he just thinks like they're going to luck into something. That's how I feel like that they run that team. He just runs it like an old mom and pop shop that has it's Blockbuster Video right now.
How much do you think that Terry Pegula and the front office personnel are sitting there thinking, at what point did the fans just stop caring?
They stopped caring.
No, they haven't.
They have.
People like us have. They're still.
Dude, a lot of people have stopped caring. The arena's not filled.
Some have.
Most have. Dude, the arena's not that as filled. Like, you can't even see hockey jerseys people buying anymore.
Do you think this is the week? And I'm not even saying the off season.
Oh, some engine. No, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's. By the way, I can't believe we've went 41 minutes on a live show without motorcycles coming down Aber Road. That might be a record there in itself. But anyway, there's nothing we can do about it. They don't look like they're in a rush to leave anytime soon.
Sure.
This week, this is when hockey, unlike the NFL or NBA, everything happens in the first 48 hours. Players sign on July 1st, which will be Tuesday for most people listening to this tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Or trades happen in the first 2 to 3 days.
Sure.
Do you think that this is going to be the week? And I'm not asking you for specific players. You're not a hockey guy. You have your rants. You have your opinions about the team.
I'm just a hot
You
take,
want to be a fan.
Ass, yeah.
Sure. But without naming specifics, do you think that this is the week? Do you feel like Terry Pegula has a sense that, hey, man, if we don't do something now and we go to 15 years without making the playoffs, man, we are going to lose this fan base permanently. Like, they're going to check out and forget about even going to the games. People aren't even going to watch the games anymore. Like, do you feel like it's going to be, we got to do something here, we got to make some big swings, or is it going to be, for the most part, little tweaking and status quo?
I think it's a little tweaking status quo. I don't think they really care about losing the fans as much as because this has been going on for 3-4 years. This is year 14, 15. I don't even know what year we're in to the playoff drought. Like, the desperation of you need to do this or else, I feel, is gone, and that's how it is. Like,
what does the Rock Power Report say out there? I can't see it.
The Bison's fed to Cleveland in the 90s, so that's why I like the Cleveland Indians. I don't know. He was talking about how.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, because we're talking about my Bison's hat. Okay.
My buddy Joe Rodriguez, he was with me here yesterday, Imperial. Hopefully the AC is on in there today. The AC is not on. However, we are outside on the patio.
And Pat's not stupid enough to wear a hoodie like he did yesterday.
Yeah,
so
I definitely had a hoodie on yesterday.
Yeah.
That did not work out well for me. But, we are on the patio here, and it is a much more comfortable, nice early summer night here, by the way, in Buffalo.
Great. I mean, it's a nice summer day.
I know a lot of people love to bitch about the weather. It's too hot. It's too hot. I am maybe the biggest complainer in the world. You know this. In your mind, I complain about everything, and I pander to everybody. That's Pat Moran to you.
Pandering Pat, yes.
It is. But anyway, the one thing you will not hear from pandering Pat is bitching about it being hot and the weather just being too hot. Don't forget where we live, man. I mean, you're in New York City, but it's kind of the same principle.
We're a little bit hotter.
You get maybe 15 to 20 days like this a year in Buffalo, so I am not going to bitch about it being too hot. I am going to bitch a little bit more about the Sabres before we wrap up this show, though, because I also think it's going to be, for the most part, status quo. I think the strategy for Kevin Adams, I think what the Sabres are banking on is, trading Byram, getting a top 9 forward, maybe making another smaller trade. I think Kevin Adams is banking on what he already has developing. Jack Quinn taking that next step. Norris staying healthy. I'm trying to think of some other players. Zach Benson taking a big step. Kulik taking a big step. I think they're counting on that for success this year. And also goaltending being a lot better. UPL was pretty good 2 years ago. UPL was borderline garbage this past season. I mean, he was, for the most part, awful. He wasn't even the best goaltender on his own team in the second half of the season last year. So I think that that's what they are banking on, that if they get better goaltending and guys like Jack Quinn and Benson and Kulik step up and Tage stays healthy and Dalton stays healthy, that's going to be their ticket to ending the playoff drought, and that will get fans back on board. I don't think it's going to be trying to get a Mitch Marner type or a Brad Marchand type, because first of all, those guys ain't coming here because they're not going to be interested in coming here. And I just don't think Terry Bagul is willing to pay that money either.
Sure. I got nothing to say, man. My Sabres takes are out. You should bring my cousin in here to talk Sabres because I'm done with them. I gave you 5 good minutes, man. I gave you a good comeback. But yeah, look, they're relying on their youth. They're relying on the prospect. They have the system. I've seen this before. Darcy Bergier used to do this all the time, where he, like in the Galasano days, we have to wait for the young guys to come through, and then when you overprice yourselves because they had a really shitty budget with Galasano, they always leave, and you have their kids come through. That's what they're counting on. They're counting on these stupid kids to come through, and I'm not counting on it. So, like, and I get annoyed when I think about Kevin Adams because I think he's just the garbage man who won the lottery because he was down the hallway, and Terry liked him, and they were virtuous with each other. Who the hell knows? But like, other than that, I just don't have that much faith, and that's why I get angry in terms of annoying. Like, why is this guy here?
I do want to say too, Tuesday night I will be live. It's July 1st, Tuesday night. It's day 1 of NHL free agency. I expect some moves. I'm not sure who's going to be on. It might be Joe Yerdon, it might be Chad, it might be Chris Ostrander, but one of those guys will be on, and we'll go over day 1 of free agency. And then Wednesday
definitely
night,
won't be me. Don't worry,
definitely
everyone.
will not be you. And then Wednesday night, I got Bulldog with me live at Sunny Reds, and we'll be talking about a lot of things, but I'm sure what's going on with the Buffalo Sabres will be one of the topics that Bulldog and I cover. Before we get out of here real quick, I was trying my best to bookmark and circle back to a couple of these comments, going back to the Bills here. Roy Collins says, read it out loud because I can't see it.
Last season, Josh didn't really have have downfield receivers. This year, hopefully, will be better. Yes, he definitely needs downfield receivers. I mean, Moore might be that guy.
Moore, I like Josh Palmer. He's a good fit for this offense potentially. I think the Bills, while I don't know if they will statistically measure up in terms of touchdowns and points from last year, because I think a lot of that had to do with how much the defense was taking the football away last year. Yeah. Oh, we got a lot of chaos going on here.
It's a party. It's good luck.
That's what happens on live shows. But anyway, the defense scored a lot, or got a lot of turnovers, put the Bills in a lot of positions. So I don't know point-wise, but what I do think is that this offense is more talented this year than it was a year ago, because I think Josh Palmer and Elijah Moore are better than Amari Cooper and, I hate to admit it, but Matt Collins.
Oh, that's your boy, you know Matt Collins.
Ray Davis going into year 2. He's got a year under his belt. Osiris Torrance is a lot more seasoned now, so I actually think on paper this offense is better. But anyway, to the point, Josh Palmer is a good fit for the receivers, and I do think he'll be able to get downfield. Read off this next one. It's from Nicholas Dossett.
All right, Mr. Nicholas Dossett. In my opinion, only 2 things will prevent the Bills again: cornerback play and quarterback pressure. If we can't get this going, we will be in the same place as previous seasons.
That's a good take. I think cornerback play is definitely important. Again, you said this. The Bills are playing better quarterbacks better quarterbacks this year, so sure. Max Hairston being ready, or Trey White being able to hold it down until he is. If he's not ready, Christian Benford staying healthy, and also the safeties. You know, we haven't mentioned the safeties all day. Taylor Rapp needs to stay on the football field. Yeah. Cole Bishop needs to stay on the field, and he needs to take a step as well.
We need to see what Matt Milano does. That's going to be a big thing. You know, if he stays healthy, he hasn't been healthy the last 2 seasons, really. So let's see what happens.
And to the second part of that point about the quarterback pressures, even if not sacks, you got to hope Joey Bosa brings some. And look, I'd like to see Greg Rizzo make it $20 million. I know he's not supposed to be.
Can someone get 10 sacks?
That's what I'm saying.
In my son's lifetime is what I want to know.
Your son's lifetime? Your son's 22 months old.
Okay, well, it's been 2 seasons he's been alive, and there hasn't been a 10-sack guy yet.
I thought I had one more bookmark. Maybe I didn't. Again, I'm still kind of getting used to this thing.
Yeah, he's been getting used to this for 2 months now.
Well, it's hard. It's not like the other one. All right, one last one here from Ralph Wilson Sr.
Hey, Ralph.
Offensive line turn when Cromer was hired in 2022.
Yeah.
That's a good take, man. I can't emphasize it enough how underrated I think the Bills' offensive line is. Last thing here, just a little thought exercise. We were talking about Christian Benford in the show. Either side of the ball, if there's guys, not counting Josh, that you least could afford to lose because of an injury, I think we would both agree Christian Benford on defense. We did agree. Offense, would you say Deion Dawkins and Spencer Brown might be maybe the two guys after Josh that you could probably afford to lose the least? For a significant amount of time, at least?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of James Cook to be a bit of a contrarian, like because we've only seen one game with him out of the lineup, and it was against the Jets, and the Jets sucked. But no, I'm gonna say James Cook. You know what? I'm gonna go with James Cook.
Really?
Yeah. You know why? Because I've had 2 drinks. No.
Yeah, so you have a couple too many blueberries.
Too many blueberries. It's going through my system.
Some people might not even be sure he's the best running
You know what
back
it
on
is?
this team.
You know what it is? You know what it is? It's because there's so much good talent on the offensive line where someone is going to like help out. So if Spencer Brown goes down, you have other guys on that line that are really good that can like carry the load. At least I feel that. Where Cook, like you have Ray Davis. He had a good game against the Jets. We don't really know much about him. You know, Ty Johnson's a third down back.
He's a good third down back, though.
He's fine, but like if you're going to be a running team, actually, you know what? I'm changing my mind. Oh yeah, you're right.
It's Spencer
trying
Brown.
To be a contrarian. I'm trying to be
as Deion Dawkins. All right, guys.
I'll say this though. Next year it's going to be interesting. Who do you want them to? How much you want to give Connor McGovern? You want him to? We keep talking about James Cook, and like McGovern is the free agent next year, right after this season.
If you're asking me which one would I rather sign?
Yeah, what guy would you rather sign?
Oh God, man, it is a good question. I would personally rather sign James Cook, but I like Connor McGovern. I just think that at center, whether it would be Alec Anderson or maybe that 5th-round rookie from Georgia last year, Van Pan Granger. He could be ready to step in. You can't pay everyone big money on the offensive line because Osiris Torrance is going to end up getting a big contract soon.
Right.
So I would say of the two, Cook, I will say this. I don't know. I wouldn't bet on the Bills signing either guy to a long-term extension. That might be cheap labor they can get a running back and offensive line going forward.
Well, really, age has to play a factor with Connor. He's a little bit. I think he's going to be. He's pushing 30.
Yeah,
so that could be
sure.
something like in terms of like he may not get as much as you think because of his age. You know what I mean? So
he's been a good addition. I'll say this:
sure,
coming from Dallas, I was lukewarm on his signing, and
I got to give thin-skinned Brandon Beane some credit.
Yeah, he was a rock-solid center last year. No snap issues. We thought there were going to be a lot of issues, and none of that happened. Anyway, all right, let's wrap this one up. Joe's going to be with me on tomorrow's show as well. This one was live. The other one's going to be recorded.
Pat has to go steal some takes for Hockey Day.
Yeah, I do.
He's got to go listen to Chad and Mustache Man Analytics Anthony, and who else is there?
Who'd you say? Oh, Mustache Man.
Mustache Man Analytics Anthony. It's an inside joke. But, him. He's got to go listen to Gunther Turner over at Cover One, and all that stuff, and do that.
All right, but this drops on Monday, the podcast. Another show coming up with Joe on tomorrow, and Monday night that will be up on YouTube. But anyway, thank you for everyone watching. Over 600 strong, dude. End of June, live on a Sunday night.
Yeah, we got my cousin in the house.
About that.
We got Perth on in the house.
It's getting pitched
Patriot Joe's in the house over here. We're all good.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. Be back. Joe will be with me again on another show. Talk to you tomorrow.